Hi, that's quick. Hi. Dun, 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 dun. I am on time this time. Isn't that impressive? Can I take a shower first? How long is the shower? "20 minutes. That's a lot. You know, um, I can give you 10 minutes. Comic Con? I mean, I am a longer shower taker, but that's not when I'm missing an event usually. Oh, you need to sleep. Did we get anyone else here? Okay, I'll give you 10 minutes. And if you're late, you're late. How about that? Okay, have a nice shower, don't sleep. I wasn't quick enough. So today we will be watching with, if you try well enough, you can even take shower in 5 minutes. But I don't do it. I am fish maxing, just like fish. Dude takes baths 3 hours long-term baths. Pum, pum, pum. What do I call what? It's so hard to choose a category. Um, for streams. I like soaking baths, but not when it's this hot. Yeah, I prefer showers too. Baths are just not my thing, not for me. But I still do it. In case you wanted to know, because it's very important for you to know. Anyway, before we do things, you can actually go, please go. I misclicked. So Twitch updated its policy, it seems, and I had to choose labels for what can happen in my. I'll head to bed soon, but I stick around. I actually sent the video in the chat this time, so you can even take a look yourself. Shall I make no, I shall not. You need to get buckets of cold water and put it in different places around your space, and then it will get slightly colder. What did I want to do? Do you have to grab it right now? Pum, pum, pum. Ew, it smells like gasoline here. Oh, hi. I will grab kefir. Of course, there's a rehab video in my recommended. I even subscribed to the guy. How are you doing? Actually, how should we call you? I can only perform this gags so long before I myself get annoyed at it. I don't know, I'm not very good at coming up with good usernames. Okay, I can come up with something myself. You can make a meet and greet post. Or did you do it already? No, you didn't. And as I learn more about you, I'll be able to come up with a nickname. You can also post memes you like with fun stuff. Maybe I'll know something. You like as a nickname, or when I use to refer to him? Both? Okay. What about the others? How do you feel about this gag? Ayuna, do you have the insane amount of milk products that we have in Russia? Like, we have 1 million of milk products that we casually consume. I am drinking kefir as we're speaking. When I was studying in school, and playing volleyball, like we had 3 what do we call it? 3 sessions a week, like anyway, throughout one single year, almost every day, I would come back from training, get 1 liter of kefir, and drink the whole bottle the same evening. Also, once Me, my friend, and her mother were doing shopping already as an adult. And we went to the grocery store around that time, and I bought myself, well, it was in a mall, right? We went to the grocery store in a mall. I bought myself 1 liter of milk. Between going out of this grocery store to the way out of the mall, I consumed the whole bottle. 1 liter of milk. I impressed my friend and her mother. I only drink water, not bad. I think it is the time. Do you all use it for baking? Buttermilk. Oh! Great timing. We were talking about fermented milk. Shall we start? Let's go. Wrong tab.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request from one of my patrons, Lily. She brought to my attention an account by... A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request from one of my patrons, Lily. She brought to my...
Oh my god.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request...
Okay, it is what it is.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video request from one of my patrons, Lily. She brought to my attention an account by somebody called Orion Taraban asking me to break down his content. At first, he seemed to me just your run-of-the-mill manosphere content creator with video topics such as men are the prize and women want it all. But then I noticed something concerning. This man has a PsyD, which is the same degree that I have. So at that point I realized, oh, this guy is using his perceived expertise as a psychologist to spread a very dangerous anti-woman message. And who better to explain why his rhetoric is not based on any credible psychological theories than a woman who also has a doctorate in psychology. Let's do just that.
Does it show? Okay.
So Dr. Taraban calls his...
Does it not show the video to you? Interesting.
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video...
You know what would be funny? To talk to clavicular. I bet
A couple of weeks ago, I got a video...
Oh my god. I bet I would trigger his mommy issues. So, did you hear the sound now? Would I want to debate rehab? Have you seen this video with some, young man talking to Jordan Peterson, debating about, 20 atheists versus one Christian, and this guy is trying to make Jordan Peterson have some point, and the dude just, this Mr. Intellectual is incapable of doing so. He cannot state what he thinks for the love of his life. Like, this wouldn't be similar, but the problem with Rehab Room is that he only has one point, and everything he says leads to one point. It is both the conclusion and the proof and the explanation. I bet you're based Russian tried Wi-Fi, and I think what? But you're talking about clavicular with the ROI. Hi, Winnie. Would probably not be worth it because you have pink hair and wear clunky shoes. I have my natural hair right now. I am planning to color my hair. Okay, let's watch the video finally.
A request from one of my patrons, Lily.
Does it sound well? Do you hear it?
Called Orion Taraban asking me to break down his content. Effort.
It's okay. You can just chill with us a little, and then you can join us tomorrow. Did you guys hear the sound? Okay.
First, he seemed to me just your run-of-the-mill manosphere content creator with video topics such as using message women who all psychology. So Dr. Taraban calls his psychology
I would
psych hacks, which sounds great in theory, but the issue is that he hasn't truly provided.
Okay, so there's sound at Twitch, but not here. By the way, if you put the stream on Twitch and YouTube, that'd be nice too. I'll just stop streaming and start streaming again then.
Added any psych hacks or any evidence-based psychoeducation on his.
Did you hear it now? By the way, is my microphone okay? No problems with the sound? Except for cars. We do I stopped the video.
Channel in about 3 years. 4 years ago, when Dr. Terabin first started his channel, his videos were on respectable, scientifically sound topics such as how to let people be wrong and
What the fuck? Why is it this way?
use emotions to
I do not understand. What if I how do I check main channel volume settings? YouTube that just doesn't want to work well, does it? Oh, you know what?
make better decisions. And then about a year in, something curious happened. He published a video titled Guys, Find Your Ugly Duckling or How to Find a Good Woman, which got about 10 times the amount of views that he was
Did it work now? No? Okay. Just overall the video and look for it never goes well with Discord.
typically getting around that time. For the most part, he went back
Should I just leave and join? As I usually do.
to his regularly scheduled
Anyway. Back to the grind.
videos, but more and more manosphere sounding titles started to get peppered in there, until eventually pretty much
Great. Fine. We have to start again.
provided any psych hacks or any evidence-based psychoeducation on his channel in about 3 years. 4 years ago, when Dr. Terabin first started his channel, his videos were on respectable, scientifically sound topics such as how to let people be wrong and use emotions to make better decisions. And then about a year in, something curious happened. He published a video titled Guys, Find Your Ugly Duckling or How to Find a Good Woman, which got about 10 times the amount of views that he was typically getting around that time. For the most part, he went back to his regularly scheduled videos, but more and more manosphere sounding titles started to get peppered in there, until eventually pretty much all of his content started to sound very woman negative. Women treat men the way men treat jobs. Women punish the men they like. Women want it all, which has 427,000 views, juxtaposed with the video right before it, which was about neglected kinds of love, which only got 8,400 views.
Do you know why they do it? I mean, you know,
The red pill content got about 50
It's
times
so
more engagement
noticeable.
than his regular content. Dr. Terabin's more recent content seems to be largely based on what the red pill community calls sexual market value. According to this theory, relationships between men and women can be simplified into an economic system. Men and women hold value to potential or actual sexual partners based on different things. Men based on income, women based on youth and age. The sexual market value theory is not credible or scientifically sound in the field of psychology. It greatly exaggerates and oversimplifies tiny seeds of truth from theories that do exist, such as the social exchange theory, which says that relationships are all a cost-benefit analysis and they require some level of reciprocity for them to be healthy, or the mating strategies theory, which says that people use different mating strategies whether they're pursuing a short-term or long-term partner. Evolutionary psychology does love to talk about how men on average prefer younger and more beautiful partners, and women do on average tend to prefer men who have higher income due to evolutionary reasons. However, even when averages do exist, they're probabilistic, not deterministic. Meaning it would be accurate to say women self-report preferring blank trait on average, but it's not scientifically supported to say women will always go for a Chad. And in fact, even within evolutionary psychology, large meta-analyses have raised questions into the assumption that men and women really do prefer these things. When those differences exist, effect size tend to be quite small, which suggests there are other, a lot more important variables at play in what draws people to each other. Gender equality in society tends to greatly reduce those differences. What people say they want in self-report questionnaires is often not what they actually go for in reality. And so the truth seems to be that women tend to report prioritizing financial resources in a partner slightly higher than men do, and men tend to report wanting attractiveness and youth in a partner slightly more than women do. Evolutionary forces, of course, play a role in mate selection, but red pillars way exaggerate that role. And in my opinion, evolutionary psychology is one of the weakest subfields of psychology. What else is at play in attraction? Human attraction is highly culture-bound, time-dependent, individual, and attachment-focused. Like in the early 2000s, it was considered attractive to be very heroin chic and wear low-cut pants, whereas in the 2010s, it was the complete opposite. Women were supposed to be curvy and wear high-waisted pants. One woman might be attracted to a man who's financially successful, while another might not care at all about it. And in fact, there is certainly no shortage of examples in society of women who end up with men who do not support them whatsoever. Attraction is also attachment-based. It's not about what value that person brings to your life, but it's also about the bond that you ideally develop with them, which is why, for example, when someone's partner falls sick, people often continue to take care of them even though they're not really getting anything out of the relationship anymore. In reality, attraction is not as simple as all men and all women benefit from relationships and want these specific things which can distill a person's value into a concrete number. But let's look at some of Dr. Taraban's claims.
Before we look at these claims, what would you say, how would you compare this view we were presented with the black pill view of attraction? How does the described perception of attraction between men and women relate to... Anyway, what she said about sexual market value? What would you think about it from the black pill view, let's say? Black pill pretty much acknowledges and even is partly based on sexual market value theory. Do you understand now why people put black pill and red pill on the same spectrum? Normal, yes, looks, marks, and hypergamy sexual market value. What else is there? PSL. This is all the manosphere stuff. That's why all these pills are on the same spectrum, and this is why we put red pill and black pill together. Okay, so this video is helpful because it will also talk about what black pill perceives as the basis, I guess, as truth. Not all of this, but sexual market value especially. A question I want to ask. After she described how red pill views intersexual interactions, what would you say about her comment? I remind you, she said there are many factors, including cultural, individual, I don't remember what else she stated, but basically, besides this transactional view of relationships, there are many factors that come into play. Something smells bad outside. Sometimes we get the smells from farming industry come our way. The smell is of fertilizer, specifically natural fertilizer, so like animal shit lumped together to fertilize the soil. We call it navoz. I don't know, I've just kind of accepted that unless you're a Chad, every relationship, not just sexual and romantic, is transsexual in a way. Knowing where you live, I was expecting harsh chemicals and maybe a heavy dose of radiation. Yeah, harsh chemicals is true. People say that, like, if they are from other places, they say they come here and they can smell the air because it's so polluted with different chemicals. And the first time I was away for a while, when I returned, I also could smell the air. It was not a beautiful smell. I mean, we can describe relationship as transactional, but it is a choice to describe it that way. For example, like, we can describe anything as transactional. So in Russia, sometimes, like every summer, you will get hot water turned off for 2 weeks, except if you're in Moscow, because they only get 10 days, because Moscow is a different country, basically. This is where all the money goes. So we can see a potential transaction here. Like, when the hot water gets turned off. Depends on where you live. So you can go to your partner or to your friend, annual maintenance. Yes. So you can go to your partner to take a shower. Here, a transaction, is it not? We can describe it as transaction. How reasonable it would be? Hard to say, I think. Would you say it's a transaction? Well, what does the partner get in return? Well, they can take a shower at your place when they have the hot water off. Or maybe just your presence. Did you notice how I barely stopped the video so far? Okay, it's only been 5 minutes. Nothing to be proud of. That is true, but I would also offer my shower to anyone I know and who needs it. Yes, I feel you could break down every human relationship into being transactional if you really wanted to. Yeah, I think the real question is whether it is useful to view it this way or not. Does viewing a relationship that way benefit you at all? Yes, this is the perspective that I wanted to add.
More closely. Starting with this video that he titles his ideal woman a useful 8, because obviously we are all itching to know what Dr. Terabin's ideal woman is.
This is gonna be disturbing, honestly, and stupid. He also has blue eyes there.
Ryan Terabin, and this is Psychax, Better Living Through Psychology. And the topic for today's short talk is a useful 8. So from time to time, I receive a specific question from both men and women. Orion, you talk so much about sexual relationships, so tell us, what is your ideal woman? Here it is. For me, an ideal woman is a useful 8.
So let's break down the two components of this sentence. Useful, which relies on this very self-centered, transactional outlook of relationships, and 8, which relies on a very objectifying view of relationships, which again boils down a person's value into one numerical score. Starting with the first part, useful. What, you might ask, does Dr. Terabin thinks makes a woman useful? Well, serving a man.
Well, it means that she must actively generate value. And 8, to be helpful. A good woman, a smart woman, once she secures access to a man, starts to look around.
I think I
starts
could ban
to carefully
from
observe a
Blizzard
man's
Tales.
life and what he is trying to accomplish in order to identify opportunities where she can be of service. But Orion, some women will say, why would I want to serve a man?
I think I just threw up in my mouth a little bit. That's a pretty disgusting way to view dynamics between men and women. It reveals a very hierarchical view of the genders, where women are relinquished to the role of servant. They're basically beneath men. Now, as you'll see later on in the video, Dr. Terabin likes to redefine words, so let's look at the actual definition of servant so that he can't sort of backtrack and pull a Motte and Bailey fallacy. A servant is an individual who performs duties about the person or home of a master or personal employer. So here we get an idea idea that is going to continue to come up in his content, that men are kind of like women's employers, and that romantic relationships should involve a woman doing things for a man that make his life easier. Now, what effect do you think this will have on relationships? What effect do you think it would have if people hearing Dr. Taraban's way of viewing things will also adopt it for themselves? Women will internalize the message that they are below men, that their worth is dependent on them making somebody else's life easier, and so they're probably going to stay in relationships with men who mistreat them, who confirm that belief that they're beneath them. Men are going to internalize the message that they are above women, and they're therefore going to feel more justified to mistreat women if they so desire, because as we know based on the most recent research, mistreating other people basically boils down to entitlement and a sense of superiority. And regardless of gender, the relationship will deteriorate between two people hearing this, because one or both partners will start to see it as transactional. And recent research has shown us how it's incredibly corrosive to treat relationships like transactions and to keep score. This recent long-term study from Germany found that when partners expect something in return for favors or sacrifices, their relationship satisfaction declines. It seems to be a pretty immediate predictor of a drop in the relationship satisfaction. Partners keep score, and immediately afterwards, their relationship quality plummets. There's no evidence in the study that people who are unhappier tend to then view relationships as more transactionally. The opposite seems to be true. And even if both partners are equally transactional in their view, that doesn't seem to help their relationship satisfaction. So a psychologist who encourages people to objectify each other and views relationships as transactional either doesn't have a good grasp of what science actually tells us is good for relationships, or doesn't really care and is just giving bad advice for profit. In reality, happy relationships are based on teamwork, positive regard, friendship. Reducing human beings to an economic framework is a recipe for relational unhappiness. What about the second half of his sentence, an 8?
The 8 has to do with her perceived sexual marketplace value, or
Thoughts? So I just feel like I have to offer more value in some way in order to get the same level of kindness and respect that normies and chants get. Sadly, my culture, or at least the way my family understands things, are like this. Everything is a one-to-one transaction. Then they wonder why nobody reciprocates something when expecting something in return. I have a question. Did you pay attention to her saying that women will internalize this negative view of themselves and it will cause them to choose people who mistreat them as partners? This is an interesting tidbit. You see, with all these discussions about abuse, especially when talking about something that incels often perceive as preference for abusers over them. So they think the reason is that the women who chose abusers make choice not based on the character of the person, but based on some other, characteristics, which would be looks or money or success, right? They do view it this way, don't they? Would you disagree with me? So now we need to think how victims of abuse actually end up stuck in abusive cycle. because this simplified view of abusive relationship is, well, first of all, victim blaming. It's uneducated and unempathetic. So, as we know, people have their idea of themselves, and they are likely to choose people who will go with their idea of themselves. So if they see themselves as, for example, incapable, then they might experience even negative feelings if they receive a different feedback. I mean, I get back to incels. This is the same situation. If I tell them, you are not subhuman, you should not speak about people this way at all, so why are you speaking this way about yourself? This meets resistance. They're Raminos. They're not gonna say, you are right, I was wrong about being negative about a person. About myself. No, they will want to reinforce their view of themselves because this is their identity. This is one thing. The other thing is that these people test boundaries, and they pick people who will allow them to cross their boundaries, and they will do so steadily until this person is completely under their control. So manipulation, lies, and cycle of abuse, where you get a high, a lot of affection, love, etc. Slowly it goes down to berating, hatred, physical violence. Then when you think it's over, it gets up again, and you think, wait, but there's hope. And when it gets down again, you can think, oh, but it could be better. So this is some of the reasons people stay in abusive relationship. Yeah, one of my biggest worries is settling for someone and ending up in an abusive relationship, but I will not dare not leave it because I don't want to go back to being dateless and sexless. I feel like I can't afford to have boundaries because every time I try to establish boundaries, I was called a selfish asshole. Okay, so do you feel the juxtaposition, let's say? For you recognize that you can end up in abusive relationship due to your position of vulnerability. So when you hear about women ending up in abusive relationship, why do you not view them through the perspective of them being vulnerable, therefore being preyed on by predators? abusers will not succeed with people who can establish boundaries. Now it smells like gasoline or petrol or fuel, whatever it is. Fuel now costs more in Russia than in Mongolia, I think. Or at least this was the case for a few days. It's past my bedtime. Kane, go to sleep. It's not the time for kids. Do you want a lullaby? Where's Saul? I don't know. I always figured most of those women to stay in toxic relationships for the same reason, they don't want to be alone and single. I had a coworker who was in a toxic relationship and was in and out of it because her partner would always come back and say they miss them and they didn't want to be single. So abusers will often say to their victims, like, you are nothing without me. No one will love you but me. You know? They isolate them. So one of the reasons they don't want to be single without their abusers is because they probably internalized that no one else would need them, no one else would love them. I mean, obviously, if relationship is on and off, something is happening and this person wants to escape. And of course, another thing is the threat of violence. The most violence, the most murders of victims of abuse do happen when this person is trying to leave the relationship, as I sent you the cases from before, right? So Margarita Grachova tried to leave her husband. That's why he started threatening her and in the end cut off her hands with an axe. Funny thing is, my coworker was in one of those infamous lesbian relationships. Yeah, actually, my friend's friend was also in lesbian relationships that were extremely toxic, and they lasted a year and a half. Kane, go to sleep. I will kick you out. I will use my authority, my endless power in this server. Good night. You can always watch the stream later. Successfully sent the child, our resident child, to bed. Okay, so yeah, this friend would pay for the flat. This was her flat they lived in. She would pay for everything, her girlfriend at the time. Thankfully, they separated. She had depression, but the thing is, the friend tried so hard to help her. She would tell her, like, I will pay for your therapy, I will pay for visits to psychiatrists. And at some points this friend would even be sometimes successful in making her take her prescribed meds, going to the appointments, but it would only last for so long before she would, stop doing it again. The thing is, they get on their best behavior when they see their victim is reaching the point of no return. So they do it like a hook, kind of like, look at how good it can be. Look at the potential we have. This is how good it could be, right? And if you are leaving, this is what you're losing. But this is just a play. This is an attempt to manipulate. It's like if I was feeding you spoiled porridge, tablespoon by tablespoon, and you think, my God, I'm going to live, it doesn't get better, and I'm like, wait, here, a whole banana, it's ripe and tasty, and if you stay, you will be getting banana, right? Because here, you got banana, you can get banana. And as you decide to stay for the banana, you keep getting spoiled porridge. It's a very weird analogy, isn't it? Not the most usual one. I often see the talking point of never date someone with BPD online. I think that approach is a bit dehumanizing. The issue isn't really the mental illness, but people being unwilling to work on it and get on medication. Yeah, but also I understand the being careful around BPD, because I've just seen how much they suffer, like kind of what's going on in their head. When I was on Twitter, I had a friend on Twitter with this diagnosis. I hear about how no one wants to date people with schizoaffective disorders. They have it as bad as inkies because they feel like they can't date. You know what? I can't even speak on it because after I got diagnosed, I've never tried dating. Like dating to date. But when I told one person that I sometimes have hallucinations, he got scared of me. So there's that. And it's not like I'm not in control of myself. I just get some hallucinations when I am under a lot of stress. I assume I know kind of what will be in the video. People's perception of how mental illness affects people is really warped by pop culture. Yeah, recently I found my old Twitter account that was banned. I logged in and I could look at my tweets. So there's a topic of romanticization of mental illnesses, where people kind of incorrectly diagnose themselves with something. And a lot of people think it's because of how much people speak about those diagnoses. In reality, it's because people don't talk about it enough. So those people who misdiagnose themselves as having something just don't understand the severity or how debilitating it can be to have something like this. If they actually knew about it enough, they would not do this. If mental health discussions were common and kind of mundane, it would not look as, non-conforming, interesting, whatnot, for people to have one. Okay, let's keep going. I think I know this creator, and I've seen a few of his videos, but I think we definitely should just send it into maybe the main chat. I think it's worth watching, just not right now.
Or PSMV. A PSMV of 8 means that marketplace value.
It's an 8.
The 8 has to do with her perceived sexual marketplace value, or PSMV. A PSMV of 8 means that to me, within my own perception, the woman in question is an 8 out of 10. So she needs to be fairly attractive. Like, I've discovered that a woman must have a PSMV of at least 8 for me to maintain consistent sexual interest in her.
I want you to make a quick comment on this part. I genuinely do not think that what he talks about is how his life is. I think he lies through his teeth for the grift. But this is what he said, with so much blue-collar despair in his eyes. I understood blue-collared despair, and I thought, how is a psychologist blue collar? Well, his color is kind of blue. But no, I just want you to tell me what you think about this person saying that if a woman is not an 8, he will have troubles maintaining sexual attraction towards them. which is a very interesting way to admit he can't get it up. Sadly, many people are like this and are shallow. How do you know? What do you make this judgment on? I think, like you said, it's just a grift. He saw which videos got you and is just rolling with it.
As I've mentioned previously, my rule of thumb here is that I should be able to walk into most rooms with a given woman and want to leave with the woman I brought. If I walk into too many rooms too often and I see other women I'd rather be leaving with, I'm just going to be real, it's very unlikely that that relationship is going to last, as I'm going to be emotionally pulled in other directions.
I was genuinely horrified at how stupid this statement is. Like, I was watching it in the gym and I had to pause for a minute to just sit with my eyes wide open. How, I mean, if your partner is your partner, you kind of focus on your feelings of attraction on them. You just do not look at other sources, potential sources of attraction. Like, yeah, maybe there are other people who are better looking, but this is your person. And just like she said before, that attraction is formed out of multiple, very different factors. So, like, even if, I don't know, let's compare, like, my ex-boyfriend with whom I was in love for a very long time, right? Who do you think I would find beautiful? Name some man. All I can think of is Henry Cavill and Timothée Chalamet, and I dislike them both visually. Would it be cheating to use clavicular? I mean, his body honestly does not look normal. That one half Japanese guy who does street interviews, maybe. Yeah, actually a good one. He's very pretty. Definitely my type. So, the thing is, when I would be, say, in the room with this guy and my partner, this guy would be just some guy, right? Yes, he is extremely beautiful, but he's also not my person. My person is the one who, would cook for me, and he had this gag to write my name and then silly or like a moron on the packets of milk. A very silly thing, but like, that was fun. Or the person who, I could remember a lot of things. I just the person with whom I felt safe and secure, and the person whom I adored for very little things, for very small things. I've told many times that I hate facial hair on people, and so most of the times he would shave for me. But at some point, so this was the situation. I woke up, he went to the bathroom, I saw him, then he went to the bathroom. No, wait, what am I talking about? We woke up, we slept together, I woke up, I go out, I see his face. I look at him very intensely because something is different about him, but I just cannot understand why. Just kind of the face, the vibe is different. So, knowing that it is stupid and impossible because it's 9 or 10 in the morning, I ask him, "Did you get a haircut?" Fellas, he did not get a haircut. He shaved. I just couldn't even notice it because of how unimportant it was for me. I also dislike body hair. He had a little bit of hair on his shoulders. I didn't even know it could grow there. But for when you are with a partner that you love, it's not like a feature you just like. It's just some feature. You don't view it as negative anymore. I feel like you never really fall in love with your type because your type does not exist. It's always an individual in their full complexity, and their body is also a part of them. Farts are kind of disgusting, right? But people who live together sometime for many years can fart in front of each other and make fun of it. Today I watched a reel on Instagram when a girl was telling about how I've become convinced that my type is a creative, neurodivergent woman who is also weird. Who is also weird part was unnecessary because it is included in a creative neurodivergent woman. Well, yeah, that's kind of, a general direction. I think our types are just a general direction we go in. What do we usually like? Not what we certainly will need. Let's go with an analogy. You may your favorite color may be, my favorite colors are lilac, pink, and gray. But sometimes my favorite item of clothing would be a different color. None of this, despite me having a clear and strong preference for these colors and usually going for them. Sometimes I like a green object. I just end up offended and pissing off normies for being slow or coming off as not too bright. What do you mean? You mean as a neurodivergent person? As I told you, I do not think you perceive the way people think about you correctly. Oh, I can't get along with normies or date normies. I think by being slow he means like being stupid, not thinking quick enough. Like the Pokemon Slowpoke. Yeah, I genuinely, generally prefer neurodivergent people around me. I mean, I think you can notice that I'm quite comfortable in our server. A good thing about being neurodivergent around other neurodivergent people, unless they are extremely insecure, is that if you mean something, want to say something, and it doesn't come off the way you wanted it to, you can just say, oh no, actually, this is what I meant, or this is what I'm feeling. You don't need to play any games, you just say it outright. I tend not to get things for the first time around, and I have to think about things, but it takes me time, hence why I can't even give snappy answers or right away responses. No, nothing real bad. I'm really slow in general too. Interesting. I sometimes really need someone to tell me the same thing twice or explain the same thing twice. And it annoys me that I need it. I can hear someone perfectly and still ask what. Yeah, I think it's because we need time to process, and asking what helps. And my hearing is fine, but people still ask if I'm deaf. Sometimes, I also hear things well, but these sounds were not processed. The meaning was not understood. So I ask what, and then my mind is like, no, these are the words that were being said. And I'm like, oh, I don't need this clarification actually. I get that. I feel like talking face to face with people, my brain just doesn't process things right. I can never think of anything to say. This is interesting. Do you worry about if what you're going to say is the correct thing to say? Are you worried you say something wrong? Shall we continue? You used to sing in these breaks. Do you miss my singing? Should I sing? I remember my driving training. It was the first time. I think your autocorrect remembered the word forced, which I think doesn't exist. You can remove it from your suggestions. So it was the first time I decided to just let myself be divergent and made it known to the instructor. Both me and the ADHD woman in my class struggled with it, and our instructor was worried we would not pass because we struggled with following directions. She isn't seeing Maxine anymore. I don't know, just like my mind goes blank. It's not with everyone. Like with people I know well enough, I can talk, but with random people, I don't usually know what to say. I see. Okay. Probably because you feel like you don't have enough experience to pull. Anyway, I think it's normal.
Studies also show that people who objectify others tend to be higher in the dark tetrad traits, which, as a reminder, are narcissism, psychopathy, sadism, and Machiavellianism. They tend to be more exploitative, more entitled, to experience issues in having happy relationships. The researchers said, our findings suggest that a propensity for objectification is predicted by an unwillingness to maintain positive relationships with others, lower intellectual openness, higher entitlement and exploitativeness, and low tendency to positively respond to others' favors. Dr. Taraban says he can't really maintain sexual interest in a woman who's below an 8. Otherwise, he has a wandering eye. And of course, sexual attraction is important in a relationship. It's a key piece of the puzzle. But if your interest in your partner is dependent on external stimuli, meaning what other women you see when you go out into the world, I find that pretty sad and ego-driven. Notice Dr. Taraban's language when he talks about relationships. He says sexual relationship, not romantic or intimate relationship. In long-term partnerships, sexual attraction is not the most important thing or the only thing that matters. It might be the initial spark that draws two people to each other, and hopefully it's strong enough to last a lifetime. But that initial spark should ideally also open the door for vulnerability, emotional closeness, trust, care, respect, teamwork, support. Relationship science tends to distinguish between initial attraction and relational arousal, meaning the draw you feel towards someone with whom you've developed a deep long-term relationship. If you find yourself not wanting to be faithful to someone because there are other more attractive options out there, it begs the question, have you ever actually developed a deep enough relationship with someone where you know what that relational arousal even is? And if you haven't...
Relational arousal. This is a very important concept. I want to make sure you understand what this relational arousal is. How did you understand what she's talking about? I was finishing the bottle of kefir, and my avatar moved like it had a seizure. building sexual interest through relational dynamic. I think she basically just said a concept that is out in Black Pill about how you need that initial deep physical attraction before you can move on into falling for their personality. No, she said that when you are attracted to person, you kind of maintain. When you are emotionally attracted to person, when the connection that is romantic, intimate, sexual is deep enough, not just sexual, I mean, you maintain your attraction to them. So it doesn't rely on, comparison on just looks anymore, as it happens when you have not formed any connection with the person, when you don't know each other yet. You can develop sexual, physical attraction to a person after getting to know them, even if you weren't initially attracted to them. Because when you are attracted to a person romantically, it's them as a whole, not like parts of them, like it's a Frankenstein monster. I don't know, that's just something that never happened to me. Have you never experienced it? Have you never felt that you like the person more, and because of it you might actually, find them more attractive as well? Like physically? Nope. Well, what about the others? The other guys here. Have you guys never experienced that? Yes, finding someone more attractive by getting to know them better, yes. I need to like the person first. Here you have it, Remy. I'm very surprised you've never had it happen to you. Has happened to me, but the baseline of attraction was already present. Yeah, it's normal to kind of, copies here, to have this baseline. It's not, it could be even with someone you don't initially like visually. It's just rarer. I've been a computer technician for an evening. For your parents? Yeah, for me there needs to be some baseline physical attraction. I can't fall for someone's personality alone. Some people can. I would say that I am more superficial than that. I am not gonna pretend to be more sophisticated than I am, or more, morally pure. But I also I'd say people that I thought about it as neutral. Yes, she shouldn't be repulsive to look at, but if I'm neutral towards her looks, then it can be possible. Yeah, that's kind of the same with me. When I'm, say, on a dating profile, if I judge a person's appearance, I think in terms of, can I find myself being attracted to them, or if I can't. If I think I can't, I swipe left. If I think I can, then we look at what kind of person they are. Well, actually, I start by looking at the bio, always. But after that, I decided to look at how they look, actually. But I'm not gonna claim that this is common. It's extremely difficult for me to find someone repulsive. I can find someone as not being able to receive my attraction, even if I don't think they are ugly. Even if I think they are attractive, I might feel like I would still not fall for them. Like, there's this guy from BTS. I'll find a good picture, I guess. This is a very edited picture, but whatever. Doesn't matter. Like, this is a person that I think visually is fairly attractive. I just, at one moment, I noticed that I cannot imagine myself being attracted to him nonetheless. Not saying finding someone attractive purely because of their personality can't happen, but it is probably rather rare. People on Reddit will often claim that they can, but that to me just reeks of holier than thou. I think this is just the same thing Capybara said, but expressed differently. Like, they are neutral. I am not disgusted by them. I feel normal about them. Then I get to know them. I find them attractive. Actually, this is kind of exactly what happened with my favorite K-pop guy. I did not like how he looked initially. It happened because I learned more about him. It's not possible to overturn a complete lack of physical attraction with personality. I don't think I can agree with that. Most of Redditors are ugly and obese Okay, first of all, rude. Second, slur. Third, I strongly disagree. I think that's reductive. And to be honest, a stupid thing to say. This just bears no meaning. You are probably offended when people say that, most incels are people who don't shower, for example. Why would the same not apply to the whole of Reddit? Attractive people can also be obnoxious, by the way. He's looking at me. I don't want to be perceived. I recognize it as projection, especially from most of incel tears user. I have to disagree. For them, it is more so repeating the idea that they agree with, which is a personality being important. I think black pill is very facetious, would be the word. So it's kind of I don't want to say that people deserve being bullied for it, but they deserve being judged for it, for thinking that it's this surface level. I mean, as you noticed, I was surprised with how it was with you, Rami. But I also think you just did not connect with people well throughout your life, so it could be the reason. Okay, let's continue.
Haven't ever experienced that. Are you really in a position to be giving people relationship advice? Or are you just encouraging them to also adopt your stunted, transactional, objectifying view of other people? Studies also show that people tend to end up in relationships with people who are similar in attractiveness to them. So if you're going to expect an above average attractive woman, it's probably only realistic to expect that if you yourself are above average in attractiveness. Of course there are exceptions. There are always people who date out of their league, as people say. But if you feel entitled to a woman who is substantially more attractive than you, I do have to give a little bit of a side eye to that, because remember,
I got interrupted by my sister. Can you write down what you said to me? Guys, what did I say? I finished by saying that I think the reason you you didn't have this experience of developing attraction towards a person after knowing them better is because you weren't great at forming connections with people throughout your life. You are just very isolated emotionally too. Yeah, you just didn't have a chance to do this, and vice versa. If you never let people get to know you, they won't be able to form this emotional based attraction. As they say, to get the reward of being loved, you need to go through the horrifying ordeal of being known.
Entitlement in relationships is a pretty dangerous ingredient. Now, why, you might ask, doesn't he want a woman who's above 8 in attractiveness? Well, folks, it seems like this man believes in the crazy hot matrix, which is all very scientific and credible.
Because, in my experience, women much higher than an 8 tend to come.
Before we continue, so this guy said he wants an 8. I will never argue for looks matching, because I think this point this idea is ridiculous. But yes, people often, it seems, end up with people who would be perceived as on the same level of attractiveness. So my question is, do you think he should be talking about wanting a woman who is an 8? Jude is very average looking. Yeah, I agree. To be honest, he looks like an NPC. And I think the fact that he has this classic YouTuber speech pattern only adds to it. Like when I heard him talk for the first time, I was like, yeah, that's a YouTuber. The voice, the intonation, the pauses. Potato is crashing out. Didn't I stop him from writing messages? That's your opinion, sure. Her jester thinks I'm here because girl, woman, bad. She doesn't know about one of my exes, convincing me she wants Ariella only for her to call it quits out of the blue after 1 year, and then proceeded to date a Chad. She posted picture on Facebook with her new boyfriend, which had people in my city sending me a screenshot on the same, bro, isn't that your girlfriend? Woman shit, bro. I forgot to give him the role that would silence him. Are you trying to gaslight him by saying it's all in his head? Potato. No, I gave him the role. I don't understand why this happened. One second. He should not be able to edit things. Role. He has the role. I don't understand. Okay, I will let him crash out. Whatever, it doesn't matter that much. We'll go back to him. I'm sure he judges himself on more than just looks because he's a man. That's right. Wait, is Potato a labor? I give you the full right to go and call him out for being a LARPer, fake cell, and whatnot. Go off on him. I'm your supporter.
With a whole host of problems. Like, I'm sure.
Yeah, he said he doesn't want 9, 10 because they come with a whole host of problems. But before that, he also said he doesn't want anyone below 8 because they are, not attractive enough for him to maintain his attraction. I'll repeat myself, but I bet he's just a nice guy, husband when he's, at home. Either that or this content he keeps making screwed up his relationships. Anyway, yeah. So basically, he only wants an 8. Everything else is not fitting for him.
Sure, you've seen the crazy hot matrix. There's some truth to that. I've dated some women who were pretty high up in terms of their PSMV, and while there certainly were some enjoyable aspects to that experience, these women were also just a fucking handful. These women are kind of like exotic supercars. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they turn heads and inspire envy. Yes, you're gonna feel like $1,000,000 when you pull up to the spot with one. But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance. They're just not practical cars, and they are extremely expensive to acquire and maintain. Like, the work is never ending. In large part because the
I'm sorry. This was... You can hear me, right? A mistake on my part. Where did we stop? All good?
actual
Okay.
supercars. Yes, enjoyable aspects to that
So he is comparing women to supercars now.
experience. These women were also just a fucking handful. These women are kind of like exotic supercars. Yes, they look amazing. Yes, they turn heads and inspire envy. Yes, you're gonna feel like $1,000,000 when you pull up to the spot with one. But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance. They're just not practical cars, and they are extremely expensive to acquire and maintain. Like, the work is never ending. In large part because the intrasexual competition is relentless.
Okay, isn't that great? As always, things have to go unwell.
I'd get up to go to the bathroom at a restaurant, and there would almost hidden costs. But there are so many hidden costs and inconveniences with respect to their maintenance. They're just not practical cars, and they are extremely expensive to acquire and maintain. Like, the work is never ending. In large part because the intrasexual competition is relentless. I'd get up to go to the bathroom at a restaurant, and there would almost always be guys hitting on them when I got back.
The matrix that he's talking about shows how even the most prized, valued women in a misogynistic person's worldview, a woman who's attractive, is devalued and objectified, reduced to her attractiveness, to the point where she cannot possibly hold any other positive traits, because that would humanize her too much. If you concede that a woman has value, it has to be the only metric across which she holds value. Because if you can also say, oh, well, she's also kind of funny, and she's kind, and she's smart, you veer way too close to actually viewing her as a human being. Now, Dr. Tarabrand's next video is titled, Men Are the Prize. Oh boy. Before we dive in, I have a question for you. Do you like my thumbnail for this video? I recently switched up the style of my thumbnails because I had a couple of thumbnails commissioned by someone who...
Copy, do I just copy what you said?
learned a lot, and the conscience my content. No one is the valued that women artists claim that men are today. Okay, let's look at this video. Men are the prize.
Okay. Any comments? Should I just put it on? Do you want to discuss potato? Do you hear me? Please tell me. The endless problems. Shall we continue, or do you want to speak about our beloved vegetable?
Red pillars claim that men are the prize. Sprinkle Sprinkle content creators claim that women are the prize. In reality, I'm sorry to break it to you guys, no one is the prize in a relationship. A relationship consists of two human beings who should both feel valued and value the other person. If only one person feels like the prize and they do not prize their partner, that's an uneven dynamic that's not likely to last long or to be very happy.
So there seems to be a perennial debate online about who is the prize in modern relationships. Is the woman the prize, or is the man the prize? And I'm here to weigh in on the matter because I think I can resolve this once and for all. Listen to me. If a top shelf woman is a diamond, a top shelf man is a diamond mine. Why? Because men are disproportionately the producers of value. On a global level, men, through their labor and effort and ingenuity, produce far more than their fair share of global GDP. And when you rise up the scale and examine the demographic characteristics of millionaires and billionaires, this observation becomes even more true. Like all the 20 richest men in the world built something. On the other hand, all the 20 richest women in the world received their wealth through divorce or inheritance. So if we're comparing apples to apples, that is, a top shelf woman to a top shelf man, the conclusion is obvious. No one, man or woman, no one is going to prefer a single diamond, no matter how lovely, to a diamond mine.
Dr. Taraban claims that top shelf men.
What are your thoughts, guys? Okay, I am assuming since the Una is typing. You can hear me, right? Please say. No thoughts, head empty. Okay, guys. If Solo joins, I want to tell him what we've learned, what we've heard. So maybe... Okay, he won't be able to join. I think the premise of diamond versus a diamond mine is dumb. Okay, but why? Why and how are the questions we need to ask more, not just what. I had to help my mother take out some meat from the freezer. Did I miss anything? Aside from drama. Oh my god, there's a mosquito. The guy here, the guru here said, a woman is a diamond, a man is a diamond mind. Men create value. They produce like the most GDP, I guess. What do you think about this? Have to go to family stuff. Okay, have a good day. Feels good to be a diamond mine. Sounds like it could be a start of a song. The ability to produce something of worth is not limited to one person in a relationship. Both had the capability to add something of worth to the relationship continually by forms of support, care, etc. I'm sorry, I get too invested in the main chat, but at the same time I don't want to contribute. I mean, I think there's a lot of conflict because people don't understand that producing value within capitalism is not the same as the value you have in relationship. So she actually will explain it later, but also there are many problems to be challenged, such as how capable women are of producing, economical value, societal value, etc. She'll explain it.
Make value while top shelf women receive it. So he really kind of tells on himself for how he completely neglects everything that women contribute to society. There's this notion in the manosphere that men are the only ones contributing.
Something she will not say is that how the most richest men alive also don't really contribute anything of value. Like, they do not actually invent, they steal from people, they buy from people their projects. It's not their success based on merit.
Men are the only ones inventing and furthering society, when in reality, women make up the majority of healthcare workers, the majority of education workers, the majority of childcare workers, both within and outside the home. And I can already hear the misogynistic clapback. But those are female fields, which means they are intrinsically devoid of any value because the masculine fields are the ones that are actually important. Okay, women also have important contributions to more traditionally masculine fields as well. Take, for example, in STEM, the woman who discovered nuclear fission, the antidote to malaria, the helix shape of DNA. In business, when women are in top-up leadership positions, those institutions tend to perform better. Women's leadership style has also been found to be more effective than men's in certain ways. But of course, a misogynist would respond, but those are just a few contributions. They're just a minority compared to men's contributions. It's almost like men was, until very, very recently, and arguably still to this point, structured in a way that women couldn't take part in a lot of those industries that men were contributing to. Women literally couldn't seek an education. They couldn't get involved in highly cerebral work. It's kind of like telling women, you're not allowed to come into the smart people room, then bolting it shut. And then when a few women managed to break in and claw their way into the smart people room, saying, see, only a couple women are in the smart people room. There's been a very clear pattern across history where traditionally female-dominated fields are initially devalued, and then once men get involved in them, suddenly we prop them up as really valuable, important fields. An example is how women used to be a lot of the medical workers. If we look at, the precursors to medicine, they were the ones doing midwifery, they were the ones doing herbal medicine, experimenting with trial and error to see what works to cure certain diseases, and then men got involved, called it medicine, and now we greatly value that field. But also traditionally male-dominated fields, once women get involved in them, they are devalued. So you might not know this, but nursing actually used to be male-dominated and very respected. And then once women got involved in nursing, we decided as a society that it's not important. So we have the fact that women were literally gatekept from certain fields. We have this phenomenon where anything that women get involved in seems to lose all its value, according to society. We also have a lot of men across history who straight up took credit for men's work and stole a lot of the credit for the inventions that they made. And when women provide value to society because of implicit biases such as the ones Dr. Taraban demonstrates, they're often not even believed. Like a lot of the times back back in the day, female authors, it was assumed that like their husbands had written the books for them because it was like, how could a woman possibly write so well? It's just not possible. So Dr. Taraban's entire premise that men create value and women have it handed to them reveals a lot more about his sexist worldview than it does about actual society. So his thesis in this video is that women are diamonds, but men are diamond mines, which would sound so clever if it weren't entirely based on a faulty assumption. If that's what you think, then go be with a man. Literally no one is forcing you to date women if you think they're so useless. Dr. Taraban also doesn't seem to hold older women in very high regard either.
And of course, a diamond's luster is going to fade, whereas a mine is likely to produce more value over the same period.
Now let's scroll down at the comment. A diamond's luster loses its shine. But it literally doesn't. Dude can't even manage a single metaphor. So that's fun.
The implication being that aging reduces a woman's value, which once again boils down a woman's value to her reproductive capabilities. It completely erases all of the ways that women contribute to society that is not dependent on their bodies or their appearance. I can only imagine the effect it would have on an older woman hearing this, to feel like, oh my god, I literally have no worth in this world, so like, why am I even here?
And at the end of the day, women agree with me.
No, we don't. You don't speak for us. His next video is titled The Reality of Modern Family.
The archetypal modern family is a nuclear family. That is, a family consisting of a couple with a child or two living together by themselves in a single household. This isn't exactly new. However, what is novel is that in the vast majority of cases in today's day and age, both parents are working. And it's this fact that creates a lot of the ridiculousness that I'm going to discuss.
Dr. Taraban's idea of this like old nuclear family is incredibly revisionist, filled with historical inaccuracies, and it has a very Western sort of like ethnocentric approach. In most cultures, parents and children cohabitated with or near extended family, and child rearing was much more of a communal group effort than we tend to think of this like 1950s view of the family where we have like a mom and a dad and two kids raising kids on their own. In Eastern Europe, where I come from, I was raised until the age of 4 by my grandma. My cousin lived with our grandma until his mid-30s. I have one aunt who still lives with her mom at age 70 and one aunt who lives in the same house as her in-laws. It's also very revisionist to act like women were always just staying at home raising the kids. Throughout history, most women were working, either as peasants or doing some sort of manual labor or some sort of craftsmanship. It was only the upper class women who stayed at home, which obviously is a minority of women.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers, who are typically male.
Modern women are now financially dependent on their employers. Yeah, so are men. Notice how he does this thing where he manipulates the narrative by only giving selective information, by only talking about half of the situation.
This is a point I want to focus on. Because it's important. This is what often happens. This is a very selective information that he presents. He intentionally dismisses half of the information.
He could have said modern people are financially dependent on their employers, but he specifically singled out modern women because of the narrative that he's trying to send. It's the same phenomenon as when a lot of red pillars will talk about the male suicide rate, where they say, you know, men are victims because men tend to take their own lives at higher rates. And yet what they're completely neglecting is that yes, while men tend to complete suicide at higher rates, women tend to attempt it at higher rates. And this is not like a suffering contest, right? Like, it's not about like, oh, well, that means the women suffer more than men and we should feel worse for them. We should have compassion for both of these groups of people, for sure. But only talking about half of the equation that makes it convenient for you to run with a specific narrative is really manipulative. Because if you presented the other half of the equation as well to people, your narrative would kind of crumble on it.
Do you want to instead just do talking, chatting about something. I feel like the drama in the chat is more engaging, maybe. To be honest, pretty sure Potato is just trolling. Probably best to just stop giving him attention. Yeah, I mean, I asked you guys if we should ban him, and no one voted. So I guess he will keep getting attention. I mean, if he does, like, besides me, there are other people giving him attention, including someone who said, I may be a dictator, but I have the pretense of democracy, that's why I'm asking. Do we keep watching the video or should we just chat for a little and then I will soon be preparing for sleep? How much longer is the video? Oh, like 20 minutes, I think. Yeah, almost 20 minutes. Maybe resume tomorrow when there's no drama going on. Your call, though. I wanted you to say it. Do you not think I value your, you? I don't know, Ian seems to not have watched. Potato is trying to strike a deal. Glory to our leader. How are you guys doing? How is your Thursday weekend? How's the weather? Because it seems to be, I don't think it's a topic for a small talk anymore when it's so, unstable, and such a strong indication of climate change. Slowly getting hotter. I'm not ready for it to be. Oh no! American! What is 100 degrees? Oh, this is 38, so just the way it is in Europe. At least you're not living in Europe. Apparently they aren't allowed to use AC. I think they are allowed. You're allowed, right? You just don't usually have it because the infrastructure is not ready. Oh, it's a joke. You should have said that they get beaten up for using an air conditioner. Aircon. It's been raining the whole day. On my way to the gym, I stepped in a puddle. I was a wet maxing sock towel. I had to take off one of my socks at the gym. Sorry for disgusting details. I was training with only one of my socks on because I didn't want to take off both. It's enough to suffer without one sock, and I couldn't train with one wet sock. Do you understand the humiliation I went through today? Depends on your living arrangement. In flats, it's nearly impossible to get a wall-mounted unit. Have to rely on portable ones. Regulations around them. You guys don't have window units. Everyone has window units, if I understand what you mean. My window is facing south, so it gets quite hot. Honestly, all the time I end up living in a place that is facing south and gets very hot in the summer, except for my mother's flat where it's facing north. So it's only gotten hot one summer when it was also 36 degrees. No, like it's an air AC unit that gets mounted in a window. Oh, it does happen in Russia sometime. I've seen it. It's in old houses. My room also faces south. Oh my god. Felt like an oven during May. We lost Winnie. Oh, you have... Oh. The window sill is subject to regulations as you don't rent those as they are part of a larger house structure. That means you need a permit for those. Can't you have an agreement with the person you're renting from? You need to the stated agreement of all other parties living in the same house. This is insane. Oh my god. Oi mate, you got a license for the window. Did I do well? Shrimp for brekkie. I feel like I read it in some goofy voice, like Goofy the character. Not Goofy the adjective. When I was supposed to be writing my thesis, like before presenting it after our exams, I got COVID, and it was June, and I lived in the dormitory. One room, 2 people facing windows, because facing south, because I had COVID. We had to be restricted to the room we were in, and it was also like 35-36 degrees, so I would just lay in the bed and feel sweat flow down my ankles at 10 p.m. You can hear me, right? Because you're not responding. Regulations are beyond nonsensical. Also, if you are unlucky enough for your street to be a protected zone, you can't have an air conditioner in a window or on a wall facing that street, even if theoretically you do get all other parties' agreements. Do you live in a protected zone? Seems you aren't. Okay. I have to ask. Oh, okay. You can hear me after all. You ignored me. All of you. I shall leave you for the sake of going to sleep, I think. I was busy typing, sorry. No, this is an unforgivable crime. Yeah, we both need to go to sleep. It's later for you than for me. Your cities do look nice, so I guess it does something at least. Yeah, I'd love to visit. Okay, then I guess you can move into the chat, because the drama is over. I said wrongly, it seems, because I see a new message. Oh, it's from Sola. Okay, that's good. So, thank you for being with us. See you tomorrow or today if you're Mr. A. Don't forget to make your meet and greet post. Good night. See you in the chat.